MLB picks for Friday, August 14th. This is part 2 of 2, picking up with 7 more games from today's 14-game slate. Quick ask before we get into it. If you find this useful, drop a like and subscribe to the Doctor of Sports. We put out fresh picks like this every single day. Check the channel for the rest of today's slate and stick around to the end. The play we're most excited about tonight comes out of Oakland, where the Athletics are getting a plus money look at home against Texas, and the model is putting a full 2% edge on that side, the biggest number anywhere on this back half of the slate, with the home club projected to win it 65% of the time. Big part of that is simply where the game is being played, paired with a lineup that's outscoring its opponents on paper, 33 runs a game to 407, which is more than enough to make 108 on the money line look like value rather than a coin flip. So we've got the Yankees taking their money line into Toronto behind Gerrit Cole, and a total of 7 side plays across this video, mixing run lines and money lines, home dogs and road favorites. No totals on this half of the card, so every single one of these about who wins and by how much value, not how many runs cross the plate. We'll walk through the pitching, the lineups, and the situational factors behind each one, and I'll leave you with that Athletics play as the top edge of the night at the end. We start in Atlanta, where the Diamondbacks and Braves get going at 7:16 tonight, and this is a run line play. Arizona getting the plus 1.5 at -120. The model has this game at a 5% edge for Arizona covering that spread, with a win probability of 64% on the number. It's a meaningful gap between the model's red and what the market is charging to lay -120 for a team getting a run and a half cushion, and it's the kind of number that tends to show up when a road team's floor is being underpriced relative to how competitive the model expects the actual game to be. Taking the plus 1.5 instead of the money line outright is the more conservative way to play a real edge like this. You're not betting that Arizona wins the game straight up, you're betting that they keep it within a run and a half, which is a lower bar and one the model clearly thinks is being cleared with real frequency at a 64% clip. On a card like tonight's, where the value is concentrated more in spread markets than money lines for a few of these games, that distinction matters. A 5% edge is a healthy number by the standards of this slate. Not the single largest edge in tonight's video, but comfortably ahead of what you'd want to see before backing a run line play with real conviction. It's a way to think about it. The market's pricing this game closer to a coin flip than the model believes it should be, and the extra run and a half of cushion is doing exactly the job it's supposed to do, turning a moderate edge on the raw outcome into a strong edge on the actual number being offered. It's the profile of play that shows up again and again in these run line spots. Not the sexiest pick of the night, but one of the more efficient ones. Arizona Diamondbacks plus 1.5 is the play here. Next up, first pitch at 7:16 tonight as the Yankees head into Toronto to face the Blue Jays, and this one's a moneyline play. New York at -142, with the model putting a 2% edge on that side and a win probability of 66%. Its headline factor is the pitching matchup. Gerrit Cole takes the ball with a 3.35 ERA, going up against a Toronto starter sitting at 5.48. It's not a marginal gap. That's more than 2 full runs of separation in a game where the Yankees are already the better offensive club, averaging 4.50 runs a game compared to Toronto's 3.92. When you've got the better arm and the better lineup in the same game, that's usually where these bigger edges come from, and 2% reflects a fairly clean advantage rather than a marginal lean. The bullpen number adds another layer here too. New York's relief corps is running a 3.77 runs allowed per game figure, compared to 4.42 for Toronto's pen. So even in the scenario where Cole's start runs into trouble or gets pulled after 5 or 6, the Yankees still have the stronger relief option behind him to protect a lead or keep a close game from getting away. It's the kind of two-way advantage, rotation and bullpen both grading out ahead of the opponent. That tends to hold up over 9 innings rather than just showing well on paper. It's -42. This isn't a plus money underdog play or a squeaky close coin flip. It's a case where the fundamentals line up cleanly enough that the model's willing to back the favorite at a price that still carries value relative to the true 66% win probability being projected. New York Yankees money line is the play. Moving to Houston, where the Mariners and Astros get going at 8:11 tonight, and the model likes the home side here. Houston on the money line at -120 and 0% edge, 63% win probability. The lineup gap is the first thing that jumps out. Houston's averaging 4.58 runs a game compared to Seattle's 3.84, which is close to a full run of separation over the course of a typical game. Add in the fact that Houston is playing at home, and you've got 2 of the more reliable situational factors, offensive output and home field baseline, both pointing the same direction before you even get to the pitching matchup. And the pitching does line up in Houston's favor too, with Peter Lambert starting at a 3.09 ERA against Seattle's arm at 3.68. It's a smaller gap than some of the other pitching matchups on tonight's card. but it's still an edge, and it's an edge that's stacking on top of the lineup and home field factors rather than working against them. It's really the story with this one. No single overwhelming factor, but three separate categories, starting pitching, offensive production, and home field, all nudging in the same direction for Houston. When the situational and statistical factors align like that rather than pulling in different directions, that's typically when you see an edge in the high single digits like this 0% number, solid enough to build a play around without it needing one dominant reason to exist. Minus 120 for the Astros is a reasonable price to accept for a team the model has winning 63% of the time on a stacked set of advantages. Houston Astros moneyline is the pick. Out to Anaheim now, where the Royals and Angels get underway at 9:39 tonight. And this is another run line spot. Kansas City minus 1.5 at plus 150. The model's edge here is 2%, with a win probability of 44%. And that combination is worth pausing on for a second, because a win probability under 50% paired with a positive edge is exactly what a run line favorite play is supposed to look like. You're not betting Kansas City wins outright more often than not. The 44% reflects that they're not favored to win by a run and a half over half the time. You're betting that the plus 150 price the market's offering more than compensates for that gap, and the model agrees to the tune of a real 2% edge. The pitching matchup helps explain why there's confidence in Kansas City covering when they do win. Seth Lugo starts at a 4.41 ERA against an Angels starter sitting at 7.20, which is one of the widest starting pitching gaps on the entire card tonight. That kind of separation on the mound raises the odds that when Kansas City wins this game, they win it comfortably rather than by a single run, which is exactly the scenario a minus 1.5 run line needs to cash. The lineups, meanwhile, are close to even 4.12 runs a game for the Royals against 4.10 for the Angels. So this isn't a case of one offense dominating the other. It's a case of the pitching gap being the deciding factor in how lopsided the eventual result is likely to be. At plus 150 for a 2% edge, this is a lower probability, higher payout style of play compared to some of the others tonight, and it fits that profile by design. Kansas City Royals minus 1.5 is the play. Now to the top play of the night, out in Oakland, where the Rangers and Athletics get going at 9:41. Athletics moneyline at minus 108, and the model's edge here is 2%, the largest number on this entire video, with a win probability of 65%. Two factors are doing the work here: home field and a lineup edge, with the Athletics averaging 4.33 runs a game compared to 4.07 for Texas. On the surface, those look like modest inputs compared to, say, a 2-run gap in starting pitching ERA, but the size of the edge tells you the model is weighing the home field factor heavily in this particular matchup, and it's compounding with an offense that's already outproducing the visiting lineup by a real margin. It's minus 108. This is about as cheap as a moneyline favorite gets. You're barely laying any juice at all for a team the model has winning nearly 2/3 of the time. That combination, a near even price on a team with a 65% win probability, is exactly what produces an edge this large, and it's the kind of gap between market price and model projection that doesn't show up often on a 14-game slate. When a number like 2% shows up on a money line rather than a longer shot spread or a plus money dog, it usually means the market's pricing this game close to a coin flip, while the underlying factors, home field and the lineup gap in particular, say it shouldn't be nearly that close. It's the read here, and it's why this is the headline play of the video. Athletics money line is the pick. Over to Los Angeles, where the Brewers and Dodgers get going at 10:11 tonight, and the model backs the home side. Dodgers money line at minus 82, a 2.7% edge, 67% win probability. This is a shorter edge than most of what we've covered tonight, and the reason is straightforward. Minus 102 is already a fairly steep price, so even with a real advantage on the mound, there's less room between what the market's charging and what the model thinks the true price should be. The advantage itself is significant. Yoshinobu Yamamoto starts at a 2.65 ERA, the best starting pitching number on the entire slate tonight, against a Milwaukee starter at 4.57. It's nearly a 2-run gap from one of the better arms in the league, and it's paired with the Dodgers playing at home, which adds another layer of situational support on top of the pitching edge. So why is the edge only 2.7% if the pitching gap is this pronounced? The market isn't sleeping on Yamamoto either. Minus 82 already reflects a lot of respect for that mound advantage, which is exactly why a shorter edge like this is still worth noting rather than skipping. It's a smaller number, but it's a real one, built on the single best pitching matchup of the night, plus a home field boost, and at a price that, while not cheap, still leaves value on the table according to the model's 67% win probability. This isn't the play with the highest ceiling on tonight's card, but it's one of the more well-supported ones. Los Angeles Dodgers moneyline is the play. We close in San Francisco, where the Rockies and Giants wrap up the night at 10:16, and this is a plus money look at the roadside. Colorado on the money line at plus 115, with a 3% edge, and a win probability of 49%. Like the earlier Kansas City spot, this is a case where the win probability sits right around a coin flip, but the price being offered is generous enough that the model still finds real value in taking it. Colorado's lineup is the driver here, averaging 477 runs a game, the highest offensive number for any team we've covered across this entire video, compared to 4.7 for San Francisco. That's a substantial gap in run production, and it's happening even with Colorado on the road, which is typically the tougher environment for an offense to perform in. Plus 115. You're being paid more than even money for a team the model has winning essentially half the time, and when the edge lines up like that, a near coin flip win probability at a plus money price, that's exactly the shape of play that produces long-term value even though any single game could go either way. It's a smaller edge in percentage terms than some of the bigger plays tonight, but the combination of the best offensive number on the card and a price above even money is enough to make it worth including. It wraps the situational factors for the back half of tonight's slate, and it brings us to the number we opened with. The biggest edge of the night belongs to the Athletics at home over Texas, a 13. 2% edge built on home field and a real lineup advantage. Colorado Rockies moneyline is the play here to close things out. And that wraps up the full card for today. If you're new here, hit like and subscribe. We drop fresh picks every single day right here on the Doctor of Sports. Catch you tomorrow.